Thank you. The last post ceremony will commence shortly. Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Joshua Clifford. We warmly welcome the family of Second Lieutenant David Paterson, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge the mates of Second Lieutenant David Paterson, 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment veterans and current serving members, and their families. And we welcome the veterans and their families who are in Canberra to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Operation Overlord and the Battle of Long Khan. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozieres, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant David Paterson. David Paterson was born on the 4th of January 1945 in Port Adelaide, South Australia, the second of two sons born to Ernest and Dorothy Patterson. Patterson attended Port Adelaide Primary School and later Woodville High School. He enjoyed swimming, played basketball at the St Clair Recreation Centre, and was a member of the Ethelton Swim Club, where, in 1966, he met Christine Webber, his future wife. When Patterson graduated from high school, he began teacher training at the Western Teachers College, receiving his diploma days before his 20th birthday. On the 11th of January 1965, he was accepted as the sole teacher at the Mount Hill Rural School on the Eyre Peninsula. His students, of which there were 20, came to admire him for his unstinting efforts to guide and challenge them to achieve their best. He settled quickly into the local community, assisting in organising local swimming carnivals, and played Australian rules football for the Warramanda Football Club. He also played basketball in Cleve for the teachers' team. With an imposing height of 6 foot 6 inches, he could not be missed on field or court. During his 2 years at Mount Hill, he continued his studies and was twice given a deferral from his national service obligation. Patterson began his national service training in 1967. During initial training at Puckapunyal, he was selected to attend an officer's course. He became a member of Class 1 of 67 at the Officer Training Unit Skyville. One of his fellow graduates later recalled, "During intensive training, Patterson proved to be an outstanding leader and highly competent commander, and his boys loved and respected him immensely." After successfully completing the course, Patterson was commissioned as a second lieutenant on the 14th of July 1967 and posted as platoon commander to the Pacific Island regiments in Papua New Guinea. Here he played a vital role in educating local soldiers, particularly in the areas of civic and civil responsibilities. Patterson completed his national service commitment in January 1969, and despite his desire to return to teaching, he extended his commission, expressing a desire to serve in South Vietnam. He was posted as an instructor to the Jungle Training Centre at Canberra in Queensland, where he spent the next year training men for service in South Vietnam. On the 4th of October 1969, during a period of leave, Patterson married his longtime sweetheart, Christine, at Mount Carmel Catholic Church near Port Adelaide. At the beginning of January 1970, Patterson was posted to the 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment, or 3RAR, based at Woodside in South Australia. He was sent to C Company and was made the Officer Commanding 8 Platoon. At this time, 3RAR was being brought up to strength and undergoing extensive training in preparation for deployment to South Vietnam. In September, Patterson and Christine welcomed their daughter Sarah into the world. But time at home was limited as 3RAR continued to train for its deployment. Patterson was part of 3RAR's advance party that flew out of Australia on the 11th of February 1971, landing in Saigon the following day. The remainder of the battalion arrived later that month and began operations almost immediately after. Patterson collapsed with heat stroke during that first patrol, and his boots began to fail him. The size of his feet meant that he had to have boots made especially for him, and with no spares available, he was forced to use tape and rubber bands to keep them intact. On the morning of the 20th of March, after a 5-day ambush operation, Patterson led his platoon back out on patrol. After an uneventful morning, a track with signs of recent use was found, and a forward scout noticed an enemy lookout sitting on a rock. The lookout also noticed the Australians and ran into the bush. Patterson decided to split the platoon. He led half of the platoon towards the noise, while the other half, led by his platoon sergeant, approached from a different direction. Patterson's group dropped packs and advanced cautiously. As the men moved forward, they came under fire from automatic rifles, machine guns, and rocket-propelled grenades. 3 men were immediately hit. Privates Alan Gould and Martin McInnes were wounded, and Patterson was shot in the head. Gould later recalled Patterson rolling over to tell him that he was okay, but when he checked on Patterson again, he was dead. The remaining members of the platoon engaged the enemy for several hours. Air support was supplied by gunships of No. 9 Squadron RAAF, but locating positions on the ground was almost impossible. The diggers had used their only smoke grenade early in the contact, and in an attempt to drop more smoke grenades to them, one of the gunships was badly damaged. It was not until close to 6 p.m. when the wounded from 6th Platoon were evacuated. Patterson's body was flown out separately. His men described him as an exceptional human being, fair, sensible, and enormously popular. His remains were returned to Australia after a funeral service conducted by Chaplain Gavin Kinnair, who was laid to rest with full military honours in Centennial Park Cemetery, Adelaide. He was 26 years old. Patterson's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, along with more than 500 Australians who died during the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Second Lieutenant David Paterson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.